Well, hello everyone. I'm going to have a talk about China, as a lot of people, Canadians, First Nations alike, a lot of people don't understand exactly what's happened with China, now China with Canada, because of propaganda. This is the institutionalized Canadian and First Nations person. We're going to have a good talk about that. And then we're going to go into Bill C-10, absolute truth, what everything is, and how it all really works, what it's going to mean. And we're going to get away from all the propaganda. This is about truth. I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be fine going forward on Facebook, YouTube if I choose to continue with that. If anyone hasn't went on YouTube and watched some of my videos, why are those not taken down? I operate, everything I do is a representation of the Canadian Constitution, and anything beyond that, I overlap in absolute international law. It's not to toot my own horn. It's great research, great works. If anyone hasn't noticed yet, I never get flagged, I never get booted. The only time I get booted is when groups don't like the topics that I present, i.e. truth. The people who are targeted, fake news, fake this, and all those, that's because a lot of it is absolutely propagated, set up, foreign influenced, a lot of it unfactual. Sorry, everybody. I'm a T-crosser, I say, an I-daughter, that's what I do. And we're going to go into China for all of you right now. We're going to go into absolute truth, no holds barred, because I've worked on China for a number of years. In fact, for all those who don't know or are new to joining me, I just did, by invite from the Communist Party of China, there's no way else you get in, I was personally invited, the only Canadian, just so everybody knows. There were strong academics from all over the world, the United States of America, United Kingdom, many other countries in the world, some of which a lot of you haven't probably heard of. And it wasn't just absolutely communist countries. It was more democracies than anything else. The neutral ground was Hong Kong, and I was, the only Canadian invited to that symposium. I got to ask all the African countries that were a part of that. I got to find out all about the Chinese agent that is exactly like the Indian agent for the First Nations. Constitutional migration happens with many, many countries. I've already gone into some detail on this before already. That's not the major news here. The news we're going to talk about is people trying to compare China to Canada in international law. For one, China writes international law. They have a veto in this world, unlike any other country in the world. Only 4 others. They're one of the P5. They're not going anywhere, everybody. America decided China to go forward. You know who else did? UK, a lot longer before USA ever did. So did Russia, so did France. That's reality. USA was the last. It was Richard Nixon who forced China to sign the Declaration of Human Rights 1948. Now, anyone who has a problem with what's happening with the Uyghur Muslims, the issue is not just them. There's other religions. The nature of communism as it is always eradicates all religion, which is not only part of the UN Charter, it's also part of the Declaration of Human Rights 1948. 1948 remains unfinalized because only one more country has to sign that from the P5, and that's Russia. I put tremendous pressure every chance I get on anything to do with Biden and Vladimir Putin to try and get that rectified. Now, going back to the Uyghur Muslims, China has maintained, I published this a very long time ago, a very, very long time ago, more than 2 years ago. It's on my Facebook. China wants to absolutely abolish the Muslim religion altogether in China. They want it eradicated. Russia wants to rip the sword verses out of the Bible and hand it back to the Muslims and say, okay, there you go, everything's good, but you can't have sword verses anymore. France, UK wish to pay for peace, and USA, let live and be free. They don't seem to want to address that, okay? But absolutely, I've went into detail on all the P5 about Islam, the Quran, and that holy text in history. It's very, very Old Testament. I'm not here today to slam Muslims or go into it. I've gone through it all in great detail. I've done tremendous research on a lot of theologies. That's what China's doing. It's not the only religion. There's also Buddhists, the monks up north in the Himalayas, along with the Buddhists, and it's been an ugly picture. Mao, all of it's been really, really compressed. Religion isn't something you openly share in China. That's a fact. Any religion. What they're doing with Uyghur Muslims and retraining, human rights violation, sure, if you weren't a P5 member. That's the core and critical issue here. ICC, International Criminal Court, belongs to the P5. That's their court. Everything I'm doing with Canada is to address Canada, the nation. You're all going to see the presentation that's coming Monday with all your names on the list. It's going to go through address to the P5. I've already sent the ICC letter quite a while ago, everybody. It's already went out. Karim Khan already gave me a receipt for that. It went in. I got my confirmation on the 16th, the day of Ascension for Karim Khan. Now, China is one of the P5 who absolutely holds their court, the International Criminal Court, that can be used on any UN state, any and all, and it overwhelms the entire UN. Everyone who's signed on is subject to that. And if you're not, the P5 can just individually or all together order your execution if they deem you've breached their international laws that are binding laws in this world today. Any one of them can do it. You can Google search, you can see how many presidents in Africa France has assassinated, just in Africa alone. You can look at UNSC. There's a full list of everybody they know Russia's admitted to executing. France is executed. USA is executed. Just so everybody knows, presidents in the United States, every single 4 years, on average, a president orders the assassination of somebody out in the world, which is an execution for the gross violation of international law. It went too far. Donald Trump was just the last president to do it. It's likely, just in the odds, Biden's 4-year term, Joe Biden will have to do it too, or will decide to do it too. That's just reality of this world. I don't think there's ever been a 4-year period, at least 1.5 periods. Always, every president on average has ordered an execution at least once. At least once. That's not new. All those 5 do it. They do it all the time. And then together they order it too, along with sanctions, embargoes, military intervention. They've been doing this all along. You see it all the time in the news. I don't know why people aren't familiar with this. It comes from the UNSC P5. Now, there's a whole Security Council electeds, but it's absolutely only the privy of the P5. They run the entire world. They run the show. Now, China can absolutely enforce anything on Canada. Absolutely. And with the other 5, they can do all kinds of extreme things with that court. And everybody, those asking me about vaccinations, oh, but the P5 did this, that. That's not a human rights violation. If you die from a vaccine, there's no millions of people dying from a vaccine. It's just people, you don't want to take it, don't take it. What your country forces on you is not going to be their issue. We have to wait to cross those bridges. And I get it. I see it too. They try to coerce the public into doing it, all of it, yada, yada, yada. Those aren't human rights violations, not at the extreme case. We're going to go back through this again for everybody. 100,000 children forcibly taken in Canada, put into residential schools, and for sure 4,100 to upwards of 6,000 have been murdered. In 100,000 in percentage, that's 4 to 6.1%. China absolutely sees it, stamps it forward. USA's going to stamp it forward. UK is going to stamp it forward. France will do it, I'm pretty sure. That's the only one I'm not 100% on. They're all going to stamp it forward. Doesn't matter what any of those other 5 countries do. It's their court. They're the judge, jury, executioner. This is what we voted for in the world in 1945. This is international law. Canada can get away with everything it wants to do until Canada has to go before those 5 countries, one of which is China. The propaganda has been to get all of you to slam China. Now, USA can slam China because they're a fellow P5. Canada, you don't have the luxury of slamming China. Aaron O'Toole, Justin Trudeau, the list goes on and on. I can tell you, everyone talking about the USA investigating Canada with its dealings with China, sure they are in relation, everybody, not that USA is going to move in and do anything against China, because they're not. They're not. And there's plenty of smart people on my Facebook who are policy wonks, international somewhat experts. They're all over my Facebook here, and they'll all tell you those countries are not going to World War III over gripes of Canadians, but they will go on Canada over gross human rights violations in the neighborhood of 4 to 6.1%, which everybody, the P5 ruled COVID-19 a world pandemic. They all made vaccines on the idea that it was a 3 to 5% mortality rate. We all know that didn't happen, but that's how all 5 came together and voted for it. Now on the 28th, they're going to be looking at Canada with a 4 to 6.1% genocide of children in school. That's what they're going to be looking at. Are you a betting man or woman? Do you think that they're going to go, oh, well, it's okay, it's Canada, they're kind of funny, oh, the politicians. Children's genocide is one of the most extreme binding world laws in the world. Regardless of what people believe with the Uyghur Muslims, I don't know about any death rates of any Uyghur Muslims. It's one thing to be arresting males and processing them in facilities and re-educating them, as wrong as that may be. It's another thing to send police out, capture children, take them from the parents. If the parents resist, you arrest them too. And then the parents find out between 4 and 6% of all the children are going to never come home because they're going to be murdered. We're not even getting into the horrifics of sexual and physical abuse here, which the numbers climb astronomically. That's how bad this is. This is how very, very bad this is. And we're not talking just, oh, it was all way back in the day. These schools reigned on all the way to the 90s. Now, as far as deaths and burials and punishing kids by putting them in with tuberculosis-ridden white kids as punishment for not following what's being pressed upon them after being basically kidnapped from their parents, that's genocide. It's all genocide. It's all murder. And it's going it's going forward like that. Again, 4 to 6.1% of all the children taken were murdered. That is a drastic, severe genocide that makes COVID-19 look small. And you saw what the P5 were able to mandate when they all vote together. How do you suppose they're going to vote on Canada going forward? How do you think they're going to vote on the 28th? What do you think is going to happen to Karim Khan's office come Monday when we deliver to the UNSC P5? It will be to the whole Security Council, but what will they come up with? China will speak. Russia is likely to speak. UK is likely to speak, and so is USA. We'll see what France does. All of them get a round table. They're all going to discuss various genocides of children that morning. But let's just see when Canada comes to light. Let's just see if it does. And I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. Remember, 4 to 6.1%. And no Canadian politician, knowing all of this has been out for a very long time in Canada, but now bodies are being discovered in burial sites all over Canada, and the number's only going to grow. Will we find all 6,000? I don't know, but the reality is it's there. If the Catholic Church doesn't come forward, we'll see. I'm not going to get too much into that right now. I had a busy after work, and I focused on that council. I have heard not a word back yet. Not one person answered their phone. So tomorrow I'm going to continue with the archbishops. We'll see if I get callbacks tomorrow. I've left literally 20 messages on each and every single one of that roster on that council. Each one I took my time to leave a message. I did that for over an hour today. 20 of them. 20 separate individuals. If I don't hear back from one of them tomorrow, I guess the Canadian Catholic Church has decided that they're not going to follow Pope Francis. There's other works going on with that entire bishop and archdiocese, and I'm just, like I said, I'm not going to say anything until I reach absolutely 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday. If I haven't heard from the church by then, it looks like the Catholic Church in Canada is not going to follow the advice of Pope Francis. And, I hope it's not that case. But I still have lots of archbishops and bishops to go through. I have tremendous emails of them individually, and I've had great conversations. We will see. But come Sunday, if they're not on board, I guess that's Canada's Catholic Church. And then we all have to take a pause, everybody, and decide, what is the logical step. For me, I know that will be resigning the Catholic Church entirely. I will be destroying all my Catholic records entirely, my baptism all the way through, all my sacraments. I'll be destroying them all. If I don't hear back by, again, 7 p.m. Friday, I guess I got my answer. I know everything there is to know about my own Catholic Church right here in Canada. And obviously, I have to make a decision. But there's still time. And I don't want to panic. This is the score of China. China's going forward. People saying, oh, they do this, they do that, they do this. They can do whatever they want. They bind law. They're bound to law. But the Declaration of Human Rights, 1948, remains one not signed, and that's Russia. Until Russia is mandated to sign it, Richard Nixon made China sign it in 1971. He wanted to go on and do Russia, which everybody at the time was the Soviet Union, communist. Richard Nixon got thrown out because he was caught wiretapping over communists, trying to rule out communists in the Democrat Party. So that's what happened to Richard Nixon. Watergate, he admitted to it. He apologized to Americans. He took He took a resignation, only president in the history of the United States to tell the truth and resign on coming impeachment. That's the truth. Now there's C10 we're going to talk about. That's the last bit before I go to bed here. C10 comes from Alberta. It's a federal bill adopted from the province of Alberta. Same legislation put through by none other than Jason Kenney in a different manner of. But it was adopted by Justin Trudeau nonetheless. And the reality is, everybody, on social media, if everything you say is truthful and you're not sharing stuff that can't be backed up because there's all kinds of evidence to prove that what you're sharing is absolutely false, you're going to get censored. That's the truth. If you stay with the truth and you can back it up with clear facts, you're going to be okay. That's me anyway. I'll be fine. I'm going to be fine. I'm not scared of C10. I'm not really, if C10 was going to do anything, if anyone, again, hasn't seen my YouTube, it's not banned. It stays there forever because it's the law, at least was the law until it was removed from my province. But it's in the Supreme Court of Canada, actual judgments, and it's also in the Superior Court of Alberta in absolute judgments. I gave that terrific outpouring, and you watch those videos, they're hardcore. I show exactly what's backed up in law, that everything I did on that video is legal by way of the Superior Court of Alberta and the Supreme Court of Canada. Hate to burst bubbles, people, but I can drop all kinds of precedents where all that same stuff has happened, and even much, much worse. Law can be made by several ways. Often, just like the revolutionary process, violence upon violence makes law. It's sad. It's the history of the world. The Allies tried to get us away from that, but that's reality. In Canada, everything you see on my YouTube, as hardcore as it is lawful. And it's in precedent law, backed up, and everything I did was lawful because judgments have already been made in the province of Alberta and absolutely federally in the Supreme Court of Canada. Premier Jason Kenney's crafted a whole series of bills all the way up to 19 and then all the way through the 20s and into the 30s. Jason Kenney has made so many bills stripping so many Albertans of literally 30 rights. I'm up to 30 rights and freedoms, some of which are charter rights, which is not privy of a premier. He made laws against those. You're all fixated on vaccines and COVID-19, and that distracted you from absolutely giving up over 30 of your rights, just in the province of Alberta. Justin Trudeau's Bill C-10 and a lot of the things he's adopted in this last year, he took from Jason Kenney's narrative. They have a crown power between the Governor General and Lieutenant Governors to absolutely work with each other unilaterally. Jason Kenney broke the law. He broke the Supreme Court of Canada's precedent laws that made laws for each and every one of you, enshrining rights and freedoms. People literally died in Canada for those rights and freedoms. Many people lost their lives, aka went to prison for the rest of their life, so all of you could have those freedoms. A much tougher Canadian citizen existed decades and decades ago. We get softer and softer, and our government becomes more autocratically powerful more and more. We are a constitutional monarchy. You have to fight tooth and nail for all your rights and freedoms, because they will rescind them anytime they want if they don't see any kind of real physical opposition, meaning violence. That's unfortunately constitutional monarchies. Crown power doesn't work. This system of governance is over 900 years old. It doesn't work in the world today. It never has. World War II threw all that away. The Allies threw all that away. You can complain and say, we're going communist, we're going communist. We're not going communist. We're already much worse than communist, because you don't know what you're ever going to get. You have a king's court and you elect a new autocratic tyrant provincially and federally every single election. They can call themselves the Labour, the alt-right conservative. They can call themselves all these titles, but they are all absolutely the same, and you're all blinded by it. You're all blinded by it. Now, Soviet Union went through communism, and it started out great, and then it went like this, and the pigs at the trough and all that. And by the time we roll into the 80s, Soviet Union's on its last legs. The pigs at the trough are so vast amount, but even all the way up to the breadlines and everything, and everybody so poor, destitute, so reliant on government, they still believed their country was the best in the world. Most people did. They had no idea what the rest of the world is. This, unfortunately, is the vast amount of Canadians. You think you live in the freest, greatest country, everything's wonderful, but yet it's harder and harder to scratch a living. It's harder and harder to find a decent home, raise a family, all those things, to the point where it's gotten nearly impossible for the next generation, likely impossible. And nobody seems to think that's a big issue, nobody at all. The reality is China has the power, Canada doesn't. They've always had the power since 1971. That was made absolute. Canada has no power, and even less because we're not even represented on the Security Council after 80 years. China can crush us any way, shape, or form they like, but so can the other P4, and with USA, we'll see. But the reality is America has woken up, and so is UK, to absolutely what Canada is. They're learning the nouns, and they're learning the definitions as per Canadian Oxford Dictionary versus their English dictionaries. Same nouns, different definitions. How many other nouns in the English language that Canada's Crown government uses, but they absolutely don't mean what they mean in the United States of America or what they mean in the United Kingdom. Now, United Kingdom knows what they did mean during colonialism, but they had to give that up. Allies are waking up. They're not going to be going after China. They're going to be going after Canada. Canada. That's reality. There is no taking on China. All this rhetoric, Aaron O'Toole blowing his mouth off, Justin Trudeau shooting his mouth off, all of them. And Aaron O'Toole is real bad, but it doesn't matter. And then the Muslims and Jagmeet Singh yapping. Jagmeet Singh could get shot and killed by any one of the five, or Aaron O'Toole, or Justin Trudeau, and there's nothing one in the world is going to do about it if one of those P5 ordered that. There's nothing. Or blow up their car in a convoy. There's nothing anyone in the world can do about it. And if you don't believe me, just go look at Soleimani. Go look at Soleimani. Trump blew up his convoy, blew it sky high. The whole works. I mean, blew it right up to make a point and show everybody on TV. You want to play around with human rights? You want to talk tough? You want to talk nuclear proliferation? You want to be Mr. High and Mighty? We'll blow you right off this earth. And that's just one human being. This isn't to scare anybody. It's not for really Canadian citizens. You can look around at countries around the world. It's always the citizens who suffer because of the filthy autocratic politicians. The P5 call upon Canadians to end all this. Canadians are to end all this. You're to rise up against your government. That's what they all expect you to do. And if you can't do that, then they'll start eradicating your politicians for you. That's historically the truth in the world. People can take this video any way they want. They can be mad at China. The propaganda is so bad in Canada against China. China does not own Canada. They've got their footholds in all kinds of stuff thanks to your corrupt politicians. But this is a lot of countries in the world, not just China. USA has gotten a foothold, more than a foothold. They got both hands in there just digging away. And they're our number one ally, but our Canadian government knows no bounds when it comes to selling the people out. Because again, in our Constitution, there is no we the people or First Nations. Now, you have a 1982 Charter of Rights that supposedly enshrines all that, except for it's embedded inside the 1867 Constitution, which speaks opposite of that and outlines Crown power opposite of that. They never removed any of it, and they never will. The Charter is a piece of paper that your divinity of your politicians get to take and administer any which way they like. And only when they cross over into the realm of human rights or world treaties that have been ratified absolutely by the Binding Five, then you have a situation where Canada's in a lot of trouble. And again, I'm going to say it, I had this talk tonight. On another note, real quick, we have another Indigenous group from Ontario here on board. So I got the president of that organization. It's for Indigenous law as well too, right out of Ontario. So there, it's coming. It's coming. Our ICC is going to be really good. I'm really hoping the Catholics come on board, but I don't know. I'm a little bit spooked that not one person answered the phone today, and I have not gotten a call back. Like I said, we'll wait till Friday 7 p.m. Eastern, and if I haven't heard, I have my answer, and it's church under state, church guilty with state, which is sad. We can't go after the church, but at that point, if that's the case, again, I'm going to say, who would ever want to be Catholic going forward? Because I know I can't. After a lifetime of that, I could never go forward with that. And if Pope Francis can't mandate the bishops and they're not going to do it, then you got to start questioning things. And I will do a detailed video come Friday, 7 p.m. if the church hasn't responded. And then we'll see. We'll see. This is my video, everybody. Take it to heart. Take it as truth, because it absolutely is 100% verifiable, factual, and truthful. It's not going down. C10 has no authority over this video. Likewise, my YouTube too. They'll only get you if you're sharing a propaganda or fake news, not backed up by any facts, not real, credible sourced facts. Sorry, everybody. That's reality. Everyone can believe what they want, but I know over the last year, and just watching all our rights disappear, literally 30 in Canada, 30, and premiers have overridden your charter rights, and that has nothing to do with the pandemic. I'm talking absolutely legislation to strip all of you of your rights outside of COVID-19, outside of that, outside of COVID-19, and not one of you paid attention because you're too busy worrying about, will I have a vaccine? Will COVID ever end? Is there more lockdowns? And I get it. It's been devastating for our lives. I agree 100%. But you can't narrowly focus with horse blinders on any government ever anyway, let alone a crown colonial autocracy. Because by putting on your blinders and only viewing COVID, you've allowed the government to rape, pillage, and plunder you of all kinds of rights and freedoms. Canada is never going to be the same. And everybody, this isn't communism. This is much worse. It's called crown colonial autocracy embedded in our Constitution. It's always been here. It's always been the power of your full autocrats in Canada. It's just through stronger Canadians of the past, Canadians who would fight with violence, even giving up their lives, like the victorious Allied days, Canadians who were first in battle, massively wiped out. When you look at some of the worst battles of World War II. There are actual towns in Canada where the entire male population between the fighting ages was completely wiped out. Completely wiped out. You won't find that in the US. Just saying, not saying anything. Canada was super tough at one time, and we've gotten so weak, so watered down. We are exactly like what those Soviet Union citizens were like, lining up at bread lines, everything they got, all the cash they have for just a morsel of food, and still thinking they're the greatest country in the world. That's reality. Do you think people were facing $1 million home prices with a $20 to $40 an hour job? No. No. It's sick. It's wrong. It's the nature of humanity. Call it the cattle. And we, those who can lead, have to lead and lead Canadians through this. And that starts with what's happening Monday. ICC's already gone in, everybody. We're going to the bosses of the ICC. P5 on all days, 28th, children's genocide. It's war, people. Thank you. Bye now.